Hello, 7 receiving students and teachers. Thank you. Take your seats. All right, receiving students and the model class. In our last lesson, we looked at the stomach. Today, I'd like you to tell your teacher, receiving student, what happens or where does the food go, or what happens to the food in the stomach. Right? I have a question there for you to discuss among yourselves and give me the answer. Describe what happens to the food in the stomach. Joshua? Okay, Joshua is still thinking. We'll come back to you if you'd like to give your answer. Receiving students, I hope you are telling your teacher. Let's hear from Clement.
It does digesting food and storing food.
Thank you for that answer. Anyone's got another answer or similar to Clement? All right, let's see my answer here, class. All right, let's all read together. All right, we'll have one student only in the class to read. Let's have Bradley. Beckley, sorry. Can you read that again for us?
The stomach is a large muscular organ that beats, stirs, and mix the food after it is swallowed.
All right, so our stomach is very, it's muscular, it's a muscular organ, which means muscles. It has muscles where they contract and expand, and that helps food to be digested, meaning food is mixed in there, it's stirred, and like you are mixing your flour to cook or fry, the stomach does that. It mixes the food. And there are chemicals in the stomach that help to mix the food, stir the food, and beat the food after it is swallowed. All right, receiving teachers, we are still on the same strand, living things, sub-strand, nature of living things, and our learning outcome is 7.1.2. And our topic for today's lesson is where does the food go? Lesson number 2, or part 2, and we will look at the small intestine. Now we are going to look at the small intestine. Before we go into our main activity, we are going to do a short activity using this strategy called the concept web. Okay. Receiving teachers, you are to give out A3 papers or blank papers to your students in their groups. For the model class, I've given you your A3 papers. They're in front of you. I'd like the runners to come up and get 1 marker each from me. Okay. That's enough. All right, the strategy that we will be using in this short activity is called concept web. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to write the word intestine in the middle, and in your group you will discuss and come up with some ideas that are related to this word small intestine. In your last lesson, you were using books to help you answer questions. And by now you should have some idea on what is the small intestine, or you should think about anything that is related to the small intestine. So this is the main concept, which is the small intestine, and then we should have some lines drawn out this way, and these lines will have your ideas relating to this word small intestine. Okay, so on your A3 paper, I'd like you to do something like this. Okay, so let's have one example. Anyone? This is a concept web, meaning you are going to build on this main concept, which is small intestine. Any words relating to this word small intestine that you can think of, or any ideas linking to this main concept. Clement? Samuel, what do you think about the small intestine? Give me any word or any statement.
Mixes the food.
Okay, good. So one of the ideas that he is. Okay, good. Alan?
Smash the food.
Smashes the food. Okay, so we say mixes and. All right, I'll stop there. I know you have others to give me. You write it on the chart that is given to you, the A3 paper. It's a group discussion. It's not individual discussion. I'd like each group to maybe come up with 4 ideas linking to the main concept, which is the small intestine. I'll just give you 1 minute, receiving students and the model class, to quickly put your ideas together to complete this concept web. Magnets. Right? Your ideas can be in 1 word only, or it can be in short sentences. All right, I'll stop you now and let's have a look at some groups, your ideas that you have put together for the word small intestine. Bring your paper up, please. If you're ready, bring your chart up. If you have 2 only, that's still all right. Or 3, that's still okay. Come on. You're going to present. Okay, you stand here and wait. Okay, stand here. That's okay. Mike. And stand there. Don't move. Stand where you are. Yeah. Stand over there, Clement. All right. Class, we are going to see what these 2 groups have come up with. Let's hear from Michael. Michael, thank you. Over here. And tell us what your group have discussed or your ideas that you have put together. Michael here.
Small intestine throws out the waste and mix and smash foods, digest the food.
All right, thank you. Give him 1 big clap, class. Clement.
My group comes out with small intestine, holding food, mixes food, storing food, and digesting food.
All right, good. Give them a big clap. All right, so I hope the other groups, you might have the same as what these two groups have presented, so as the receiving students. Thank you very much for your effort. Now, class, looking up here, we will go through the main part of our activity for today. Right, in today's activity, we are going to describe the structure of the small intestine, and we are going to look at how does this structure help in the digestion of the food, and what happens in the small intestine. Every time you eat your food, you don't know how it works, how it gets into your system and it works in your body. Today, we are going to look at what happens in the small intestine after you eat your food. Now, class, can anyone tell me how long is the small intestine, if you have read from somewhere or heard from some people? Clement, can you tell us?
30 minutes.
30
Minutes.
How long? I didn't say what time. If I say time, you give me minutes. Thank you, Clement. Do you know how long is the small intestine? Michaeline? Yeah. Receiving students, tell your teacher.
2 times the length of your whole body.
All right, good. 2 times the length of your whole body. All right. According to the information that we have gathered, for an adult, the average length of the small intestine is 7 meters, and that's for an adult. So I have a ruler here, and I brought some strings with me, one string with me. I'm going to ask a student in the class to measure 7 meters using this string and the ruler, and we will see how long the small intestine is for an adult. That's just an average measurement given. We want a girl to come up and demonstrate to us. Florence? Okay, I'll help to start off with Florence. I'll help her start off. So this is a 1 meter ruler, right? Okay, so we start from 0 centimeter all the way to 1. So that's 1 meter. We need a boy also to help. Okay, and you do the rest. Let's have your table mates, one of you. Thank you. All right, class, let's have a look again. Yes. Okay, that's 1, 2, count. 5. 6 and 7. All right, so class, they've all counted 7 meters long, and thank you. Let's see if we take this rope out. This is how long the small intestine is like in the adult's stomach, right? But it's just about 7 meters. It's only in average. So if I put this together like this and put it in front of me, that's my intestine, right? Now, about 7 meters, and it's on average for an adult. Now, let's see. Your first activity is to label the parts of the small intestine. In your activity book, that's page page 29. You look at page 29. It won't take you long to do that first activity. I will give you only 1 minute to label the parts of the small intestine. Just activity 1. Receiving students, if your teacher has the chart up there, you can show the teacher where the small intestine is. Or if you have your workbooks, please draw an arrow to show where the small intestine is. All right, it shouldn't take you long to do that labeling. Let's go on to the next activity. You have a question below your picture that says, describe the structure of the small intestine. I'd like you to discuss in your groups again, and you come up with your answer, agreed answer, and write it down in the space provided. Describe the structure of the small intestine. Okay, I'm sorry, you only discuss, do not write. We will leave that part for the end of the lesson. So you only discuss. How does the small intestine look like? How does it look like? All right, good. I think you're coming up with good answers, receiving students in the model class. We will have one student now to come up in front and label the parts of the small intestine. Who is ready? My picture is here on the whiteboard. You are going to use this picture that I have on the whiteboard to label. Draw the arrow to where the small intestine is. Agnes, the rest of the class, you check your work and try to see if you agree with Agnes. Class, you all agree? Yes. Okay, very good. So she puts the arrow at the center of where the coils of the small intestine is. Right? So that's correct. If you have yours as that, give yourself a nice tick, please. Good on you, receiving students. Let's move on to the next part of the activity. But this time, we are now going to look at a very closer look at the small intestine. Let's imagine that not imagine, but the picture that I will show to you was seen under a very strong microscope. You cannot see the wall of the small intestine with your naked eyes well. You will have to use a very powerful microscope to see the small intestine. Okay, let's see. All right, so that is the wall of the small intestine, or how the small intestine look like. Okay, class, the small intestine looks like this. Okay, this is a cutaway picture of the small intestine. All right, and it has been enlarged here. Right. The sentence at the top reads, the inner wall of the small intestine contains millions of finger-like structures called villi. Class, let's say villi. Villi. Right, good. So look at your fingers. Put your fingers together, receiving students and the model class, and you imagine your small intestine, the inner wall of it, as millions and millions of finger-like structures. Finger-like structures. Okay. Why do you think it has millions and millions of finger-like structures? Okay, we will continue to see, we will continue to learn about the function of it. Now, let's see. Villi simply is in plural form. Plural meaning many. And villus is in singular. All right, so villi are tiny tubes. Those are finger-like tubes sticking into the small intestine. Now let's have two students here. Michaeline, stand here, and Momoru. Okay. Michaeline, hold this end, and Momoru, hold this hand. Okay, this is a cutaway ball that I used just to show you how the small intestine look like, the inner part of the small intestine. So let's say this is the small intestine. Yep. Right? This is the outer part of the small intestine. The inner part of the small intestine will look like this. Yeah. And what do you think these things poking out are called? Villi. Okay, villi. Okay, one of it is called villus. Many of it is called villi. Okay, so this is how your small intestine look like from inside. Thank you, girls. Sit down. All right, you have a question in your book, workbook, receiving students and a model class. I'd like you to read that question to yourself and discuss among yourselves in the group. All right, your question in your exercise, your workbook reads, it's on the screen for you, receiving students. What do the villus do in the digestive system? Sorry, it should read, what do the villi do in the digestive system? Remember, one thing that I missed out, these little ropes here that you can see represent the blood streams. Okay, these ones here. The more scientific word you would see, it's known as the capillary network inside the villus. But in simple form, we'll just say these are blood streams. Right, so what do you think the villi do in the digestive system? All right. We'll give time for others to think first, and then you will be given time to answer. All right. Thank you, Clement. Tell us.
Helps to increase the surface area of an organ.
All right, good. That's what Clement and his group thinks of the function, or what does the villi do. Sorry, what do the villi do? Let's go on to someone on that side. Somebody put a boy. Shannon, any idea? Thank you, Shannon.
Villi protects the intestine.
Sorry, can you come again, please?
Villi protects the intestine.
All right, good. Thank you. That's what he thinks of the villi. Last one from you, Beckley. Quickly, Beckley.
Helps increase its surface by 10 times for absorption of digested food.
All right, thank you. All right, now, let's have our friend there. Thank you. Last one. I said last one from here, but one student still wants to give her answer. Receiving students, I hope you are giving your answer as well to your teacher.
It helps digest the food.
All right, good. Right, so from the stomach, class, the food now is broken down into smaller pieces, and eventually it forms into liquid substance through the help of chemicals, different chemicals in the stomach. And it goes from the stomach, it goes all the way to the small intestine, and it's now, you imagine it's in a liquid form. I am going to demonstrate again how the small intestine, or the function of the small intestine. This is a sponge that has been cut, and these little squares up here, they represent the villi. All right. Now I have water. Let's imagine that this is Joe Blow's intestine. Okay. So he eats food, smashes the food from his teeth all the way down the esophagus, down to the stomach. From the stomach, digestion continues to take place, and it eventually ends up at the small intestine. Okay, let's imagine that now it's at the wall of the small intestine. Okay, the liquid substance is now at the wall of the small intestine. Okay, what is absorbed in the sponge? Water and the liquid substances. This is actually scone pieces that was mixed with the water, just to demonstrate to you how, what the small intestine does to the body. Okay, so you can see that the water has been absorbed. Also, some vitamins and minerals from the food in a liquid form have also been absorbed into the villi. And you know that your blood streams are attached to the villi. It goes into the blood, and then it spreads all over your body, right? Now, this white stuff here, that's at the top, we will find out more. Where does this white stuff go to? Don't tell me, you keep it to yourself, receiving students and the model class. We will continue to see where does this white stuff go to. Okay, so from this illustration, what does the villi, or what do the villi do? It, very good. I can hear Michaeline saying it. Michaeline, tell the class quickly.
Absorbs nutrients.
Very good. It absorbs nutrients, or we can say it absorbs digested food and water as well. Right. Class, take your books out now and we will copy the summary for today's lesson. Okay. The villi absorbs the digested food and water. All right, so if you refer back to your workbooks, receiving students and the model class, by now you should be in a better position to answer question number 1, that is describe the structure of the small intestine, and also the next activity, what do the villi do in the digestive system? In your own words, please write your answers down. Do that for homework if possible. For the students that haven't been, for you students who did not complete your activity. All right, let's guess what the key word or key phrase for today's lesson is. Class, everybody? Small intestine. You are too good, you are. Let's see. Small intestine. With that, thank you class for participating.